In the cold, clear rivers of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, native trout have thrived for generations, wild, resilient, and deeply tied to the land. But today, their future is uncertain. From warming waters to invasive species, the threats are growing. This is the story of these fish and the people working to protect them before it's too late.
My name is Jason Nicholas. I am just a regular board member with the Fred Ward chapter of Trout Unlimited, but I've also been participating on the fundraising committee. We've been working on things like the film festivals and banquets and a number of other things to raise money for the chapter. So the official TU, Fred Ward TU mission is we're dedicated to conserving, protecting, and restoring cold water fisheries and the watersheds in the central and eastern Upper Peninsula. But really what we're trying to do is bring together diverse interests to care for and recover rivers and streams so children can experience the joy of wild and native trout and salmon.
My name is Troy Zorn. I'm a research biologist with the DNR, work for Fisheries Division. I do management-oriented work projects to address management questions. I mostly work on rivers, near-shore fish communities in Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, Arctic grayling reef production, and coastal brook trout. Well, there's just two native trout species, lake trout in Lake Superior, and then brook trout, which are native to the streams, and also Lake Superior. We have, our division has a set of fixed sites or index stations on streams that we sample the same site 3 years in a row, and then we'll go to another set of sites for 3 years, and then we'll go back to the original set. So we have a long-term set of population abundance metrics over those sites. And we've seen slight decline in brook trout, especially the larger brook trout, over the last, over the 20-year period.
A lot of the efforts in the last few years have really been around ways to think about restoring coastal brook trout. And coastal brook trout are brook trout that return back and forth from Lake Superior into the Lake Superior tributaries. So they're kind of similar to like a steelhead would, right? A regular river rainbow that runs out into the lake, gets bigger, and then comes back. Years ago, there was a lot of population damage in the coastal trout, but recently they found some spawning populations around Duluth. So, we're looking at some ways that we might be able to replicate some of their conservation efforts here. And you've also got Trout Unlimited National, which has what they call priority waters, which are some of the Lake Superior tributaries as well. So they get national attention from the Trout Unlimited group at the national level. But those are certainly the brook trout and coastal trout restoration are some of the things that we've been paying attention to. Yeah, there's a number of things, and it kind of multiplies. So you've got invasive species that are causing big problems, right? You've got didymo, which is also known as rock snot. So you might see that when you're out fishing, and we've been trying to sample for some of that. It's like a slimy algae that's growing on rocks. More of that downstate, but we're watching for it in the Upper Peninsula. You've got New Zealand mud snails, and then of course you've got sea lampreys. The tricky part is that all of those things seem to thrive more in warmer temperatures. So when you mix a little bit of climate change in there, and now these things can start to really take over pretty quickly.
I mean, the primary species affecting native brook trout would be probably brown trout in the streams. We have Chinook salmon, coho salmon, pink salmon, steelhead. Those are all introduced. They're not, people say they're invasive, but they're introduced, and many of them reproduce in streams, and their young compete with brook trout in streams, which would reduce brook trout populations because they're taking space that brook trout might use otherwise. And some of them prey on brook trout out in the open waters of the lake. Maybe not to a huge extent, but brook trout are also influenced by brown trout. Brown trout prey on brook trout and compete with them. So if brown trout, if conditions of favor brown trout abundance to increase somewhat, that could be depressing the brook trout numbers. Yeah, so there's quite a few things that we do. We are involved in various projects around the state to increase connectivity of streams. So that's removing dams or culverts, road culverts that are blocking movement of fish. We have a grant program that we provide for that. TU and other Trout Unlimited and other groups get those grants and then implement those projects and provide oversight on them. We look at effects of non-natives and things that could be done to reduce non-native populations. If someone was to have a stream they want to put in a seawall, they would need an eagle permit for that, and we review all those permits. And so things that would be detrimental, we come down and say that we think they should be permitted or the permit should be modified. So all that types of development activities.
So the chapter is kind of broken up into missions around conservation projects and then education projects. So some of the conservation projects we're working on, we always put out temperature loggers in many of the rivers throughout the Upper Peninsula just to keep track of the water temperatures. But we have some restoration projects going on as well, like on the Hurricane River, up on the Yellow Dog. In the Yellow Dog watershed, there's a bridge over Deer Creek that's being replaced. There's some stream protection that's being done in the Dead River Community Forest, Silver Creek Greenway around KI. There's a dam removal around Pictured Rocks. So it's all sorts of those kinds of things. And then some of the education projects have to do with things like the fly casting clinic that we do up in partnership with the Yellow Dog Watershed Preserve. There's some fishing clinics in the area that we'll be looking at. Most of our summer work, we kind of slow down as a chapter and give everybody a chance to enjoy the UP summers. And then we come back and hit it hard in the fall. So yeah, a little bit of everything. Salmon in the classroom is another big one for us on the education side. That'll wrap up with the end of the school year. There's about 15 sites there. So the students will be releasing their salmon into the rivers right around this time in the next couple of weeks here in late April. So yeah, we keep ourselves busy. When we're talking about the mission, it's so important for kids to become conservation minded and fall in love with the outdoors and understand the cycles of nature. This is one way we can do that. Yeah, so I think there's a couple simple things. Make sure you get your fishing license, and if there's ever sort of little increases in the cost of fishing licenses, know that those are going to conservation efforts, and that's important. And making sure to continue to support that way at the state level. If you have specific concerns or you're curious about getting involved, you can always contact the DNR and to support other fish and wildlife programs. For us at the Fred Wara chapter, any of those conservation projects we're talking about, we usually put out a call for extra hands to come in, right? A lot of the time we have a lot of labor in some of these projects, and we're not hiring contractors to come in. We're trying to find volunteers. So when we put the calls out for volunteers to participate, you can let us know that you'd like to help out and get signed up, and then become a regular participant in some of our volunteer activities. If you're interested in helping out on the education side, there's always ways to get involved with kids in the Salmon in the Classroom program. All that equipment needs to be tended to, and if there's an emergency, somebody's got to go over and replace it real quick so we don't lose all the fry that are growing. And then I think the simplest way is just to sort of keep an eye on the Fred Wara chapter social media pages, watch for events that are coming up, participate. If we're doing a fundraiser, jump in if you have a little bit of extra money to spare that you're willing to contribute towards conservation. Do that, and then if you have any specific questions, you can email us at fredwaratu@gmail.
I think first thing is just being aware, taking an interest, going trout fishing, taking other people trout fishing, making them aware and interested, keeping abreast of the issues in your area, being a good steward if you own property or know people that own property, what they do along their portion of land along the stream edge affects trout habitat. So just mowing it all down to the edge is not going to benefit trout population. So how we treat the land and the water, not throwing trash around, just keeping things clean, but leaving the habitat in the river and doing things that don't negatively affect that habitat, or all things that ordinary people can do.
Awesome. Thank
Is
you.
that too much information?
No, that's
or-
perfect. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Is there anything else that you want to add, or is that?
I would just say that if there's folks out there who are really interested in trying to get involved in a real serious way with freshwater Trout Unlimited, we're always looking for people with specific skill sets to help round out the board makeup, either on the fundraising side or the conservation side. We're looking for social media folks, younger people who are skilled in this and who can do this in an easy way and help us amplify our voices. But we've got a lot of great momentum in the chapter right now, and we want to keep that going. So if you're interested, certainly reach out and let us know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.